What's up, players? Welcome to episode number 77 of Ready Press Play, your weekly source for everything that's new and exciting in the world of video games. Every Friday at 6 a.m. Pacific or 9 a.m. Eastern Time, we discuss the top news of the week, notable releases on platforms while we're playing, big topics of the industry, and the games we love. If you want to write anything to Brett in the show, go to ReadyPlayNetwork.com or hit us up at ReadyPressPlay on Twitter and TikTok. No matter where you found us, please subscribe to the feed so you can get every new show directly to your device as soon as it posts. And if you like it, please leave a nice review. This is July 2nd, 2021. I'm your host, Daniel Lima, and I'm joined as always by my co host, Mr. Louis Menchaca.
You know, Dan, we're about 13 episodes too late to be talking about the Nintendo 64.
Really? Is it really that much that much delay? Well, we'll get to that. We'll get
Episode
to that.
64,
You,
I was like, yo, N64. And like, oh yeah, we'll get to that. And
You know, Louis, something that's really interesting that you tend to do in this parts, and I've never called you out on it, but because today we're in a kind of like a calling out mood, I'm gonna do it.
okay.
Is you always reference things that the listeners at home have no idea. Like you basically spoil something that's gonna happen later on in the show that the listeners at home have no context for.
Well, they got the show notes, and not to mention, I'm pretty sure a title will give it away or something, I
Right.
don't
That's a
know.
good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm just in a mood to try to give you shit. Like for the people that are jumping in right now, which is everybody because, didn't get to listen to us rambling before we actually started recording. But Louis and I were already kind of giving shit to each other before we even went live today. So the energy, I can tell you,
It's
the
combative.
energy is gonna be good today.
Yeah.
We're in for a good debate.
There we go.
Um, All right, so I want to start off today's episode by just talking a little bit more about the abandoned video game controversy that we talked about last week. Now, this is the game that's being speculated as being either a potential new Hideo Kojima game or a new Silent Hill or a new or some combination of the two. Maybe the two are true, maybe only one, maybe neither. Um, and the discourse about this has been interesting since, there's I've seen a lot of people basically be kind of condescending towards the conspiracy theorists, being like, "Oh, you all are dumb," basically. Like this is so obviously some indie game. And I still disagree. I feel like the coincidences are too there are too many coincidences. So unless there's somebody out there manufacturing these coincidences and they're actually not true, which I doubt anybody would be out there manufacturing anything like that on the internet. You know what
Oh
I
yeah,
mean?
of
Like
course. Who does that?
why would they do that? Then I'm still a believer. I still want to believe. But the latest update on the saga is that, and we didn't really talk about this last week, but this developer was supposed to do, they were going to release an app on the PSN where you could watch their trailer through the app. It was not going to be like they didn't want to just release a trailer for the game. So they had announced that there was going to be a trailer app that they were going to release in a certain date. And then people could download and watch the trailer that way, which is really weird to begin with. It adds to the weirdness about this whole story. Now, that app on the day that it was supposed to be released, which was this last week, got delayed and postponed to August. I'm gonna read this really quickly here from Push Square. Blue Box Game Studios has now delayed the mysterious abandoned trailer app all the way back to August, citing last-minute bugs and localization issues. The PS5 application was originally slated to hit the PS Store at some point today. When was this posted again? On last Friday at 7:30 a.m. Following the first delay earlier this week, the app isn't quite there yet. Hassan Kamraman claims. Um, Now there's been videos of this HK guy coming out recently. They're trying to show that he's a real person, but then I also see that the counter argument to this is that he's too handsome to be a game developer, which I think is kind of mean.
Look at that beautiful mug over here, by the way. Speaking of
Uh,
which, by the way, new layout. You're welcome. I think
oh, nice.
courtesy of Dan, by the way. Just saying. For all the
Yeah.
video watchers. Yes.
Cool, cool, cool. I'm glad we're getting the new layout in today. But yeah, Louis, I feel like this just keeps getting weirder. Like one of the things with this is that like why would they delay it on the day that it was supposed to come out, considering that it's a trailer? It's like they're not releasing a game that day. Supposedly, they're releasing an app where you watch the trailer. Why would it take till the day of release for them to figure out that they got to delay it for another 2 months?
You know, Dan, I am starting to believe your conspiracy theory because who the hell wouldn't just release a trailer on YouTube? Okay, so
Yeah.
the fact that they're going out of their way to create an app for some kind of like I guess secure portal to like view the trailer means that there's going to be some likely some interactive elements or some kind of like
Mm.
uh, you know box puzzle thing like a what do you call them? I think like a virtual Rubik's cube that you have to like interact with. That's the only
Yeah.
way.
Could it be, Lewis, that this will be a playable teaser
Oh
of the
my
game?
God, you're so, so only Kojima would go out of his way to do something like that. So it's possible. Now I'm sort of like okay, this is a bit much. You know, somebody who's an
Mhm.
indie developer who's making their first game. This what do you call it? Uh, Blue
Blue
Box Game
box.
Studios. Yeah, they wouldn't
Yeah.
be trying to do something this extravagant or this boundary technology pushing. So, not to mention, like they're an indie studio with like their first time making a game. They don't have the clout. They don't have the IP to be like making people want to go out of their way to download something. You know what I mean? Like they're
Yeah.
this isn't like the next Halo trailer. So.
Although, you know what? Maybe they really like Kojima and they're actually trying to follow in the footsteps and embrace the conspiracy theories and even weirder with it. I don't know.
I
I
think
don't
it
know.
would be
They're
to the game's detriment. I think if you have
mhm.
like if you like throw out like heat but and don't deliver on fire, you're just gonna be burning people.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
That's a terrible metaphor.
No, I liked it. I liked it. I thought that was pretty good.
I
You
just
know,
pulled
I
that out
thought
of my
I thought he
ass
got
just now.
it. Yeah, it almost sounded kind of rehearsed. Kind of rehearsed. Good job. Good job. Yeah, Louis, I don't know. I'm excited to see what comes out of this. I feel like we're gonna continue to see updates there, and maybe it will turn to just be some cool new indie game that was using all this, like was taking a ride with hype and fall and feeding into it, and then we'll see what how people receive that. Or it's actually going to turn out to be a surprise, new entry in the Silent Hill franchise or new Hideo Kojima game. But we're going to have more Hideo Kojima games, stories, more Hideo Kojima stories coming out later in the show. For now, Lewis, let's get started and start moving into our podcast with some game impressions.
All right.
So, Lewis, I'm guessing I'm gonna kind of be taking the lead here because you've played things that you're gonna talk about on another segment, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I don't think I'm gonna go too long on any of those, but I finally finished Resident Evil Village. Finished it over the weekend. Did my final push, played for the last like 2 or 3 hours that I had to play. Um, And my final thoughts in the game are that it's a pretty good game. And I say this as somebody who hasn't played a lot of Resident Evil games, so I'm not a big fan of the franchise. I don't understand the whole lore, how it connects with the other games, and etc. This is really a sequel to 7. And the game does end in a way that makes me think that there will be a third entry in the trilogy. Like, I think it will be 7, 8, 9. I think that will there will be an overarching story between 7, 8, and 9, is what it seems like, based on the way that the game ended. And I'm kind of excited to see where it goes next. Like, I'm excited to potentially take some time to play through 7, which I never did. And then also, I'll be looking forward to 9 when it's announced, probably like 2 years down the road or something. But overall, I thought it was pretty competent. I agree with a lot of the criticisms that people have online that there's some sections of the game that are top notch, and then there's some sections that are not as good, kind of drag a little bit. It's not an extremely scary game. In fact, there are a few moments that are pretty scary, but a good portion of it I was able to get through without feeling like I was going to shit my pants constantly, which apparently is the case with some of the other games. Apparently, 7 was a lot more instance. Um, I don't know, like some of the things that happen in this game just feel more like on the ridiculous side. So, like, they didn't necessarily scare me. There's one part towards the beginning, or not towards the beginning. It's like the second section of the game that you go through. That seems to be the one that people got the most scared with. And I kind of agree with that. I don't know. It's hard to talk about it without getting into spoilers, and you haven't played the game, so we can't really do a spoiler cast on it. But I would just say I liked it, had a good time with it. I beat it in around like 11 and a half hours. Didn't feel like the game dragged on for too long. Um,
Does the game call to
Good.
you as far as replayability, platinuming?
Yeah, so there I heard this game was pretty much built to be replayable. Like you can actually like rush through it, and like apparently it's like a really good game to try to speed run if you want to do that. There's also like a lot of like extra like the village itself, it's almost like a hub area where you can explore and find collectibles and stuff like that. But the issue, and I'm glad you mentioned this actually, the thing that I hated about it is that there were certain collectibles that would get locked out after certain parts of the game. So it's like, oh, if you got to this section of the game and you didn't get these collectibles in that part of town, you can't access it anymore.
Yeah, I
You
hate
know?
that. I hate that shit.
Yeah.
One of the biggest reasons I didn't platinum South Park, The Stick of Truth, was because of of missable collectible items that, like certain chim Pokemon that you couldn't. Once you
Yeah.
like go past this threshold, you can't go back. Ah, those are the worst.
Yeah. At one point, I was trying, like, I think it was like a little bit before I got to the final boss. I was like, you know what? Let me try to explore every inch of this village and get, everything I can find here, even in preparation to, the final fight that I was going to get through, like the final section and then the final boss. And I found this house, and you can see on the map, which is pretty useful, like whether you've collected everything from that room or not. And it was like, oh, you haven't collected everything from this room, so I want to go in it to look for it. And I couldn't go in it. It was like I could see it in my map. I could see this red square in my map, and I can't access it. Like all the ways to access it are blocked. So I looked up, like, oh, hey, how do I get like the in this room? And then what I found was like, you can only get the collectible from this room after you beat section one, but before you beat section three or whatever. So like now you can't access anymore. It's blocked out. I
There's
was
like
like,
not even logistical makes any logistical sense even within the context.
yes,
Uh,
exactly. It was like, it's not even. I don't know. It just felt like that really pissed me off. So like I wish, and it makes me think about like the future of Resident Evil and stuff, and like where they can take this franchise in the future. This game almost made me realize that this franchise would potentially work as a semi-open world game because the game has the hub area that is the village, and then they have these four sections that each have like they're almost like four dungeons with the boss. The first one is the castle with Lady D, and
mm.
then you got Heisenberg, and you got this fish guy, and you got like this dollhouse. And there were people that said that they wish the order that you went through them was different. So you have to go through them in a linear order, and then you go back to the village in between, and you can explore the village in between. So it made me wonder if it would be possible to make a game like this where you can go to any of the dungeons per se in any particular order and also go back to the hub world whenever you want and explore all parts of it without way. And I feel like it would be possible, and I feel like it would be interesting to see a Resident Evil game set up that way. But not to get too long, I'll probably give the game an 8, or 7.58. Yeah. Um, didn't like didn't knock me out of the park, but it was fun. It was a good time. It was like right length and everything. Scary at a few times without making me not be able to continue to play it. Excited to play more Resident Evil games in the future.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. I played two more games, not for too long. I played the Pedestrian, which this is a game that we saw at I think it was like one of the Summer Game Fest showcases last year, and it caught my
I
attention,
remember
so I
this
made a
one.
note of it.
Oh
Yeah,
damn, this one's so cool with the yeah, I seen this yeah, I've seen this before.
yeah.
Damn.
So I got it on PS4 digitally a while ago, and I've been meaning to make time to play, and I finally started playing it. It's a really creative game. It's basically a puzzle platformer. You're just kind of going through these environments as a little stick figure guy, and you can like most of the puzzles involve you connecting like you have these different panels that you can go through, and then you connect doors in between them. But you got to figure out like what's the correct order to connect them through so that you can actually like go from point A to point B, or to at some point you start collecting items and then it gets a little bit more complex because you got to go and collect a battery to bring back to the other side so you can plug it in to open the door so you can go to this other area. So it slowly gets more and more complex. It's one of those games that you can apparently beat in like 3 or 4 hours.
Oh,
I'm about like an hour and a half in. I think I'm probably gonna play through it some more this week. Probably beat it. But good time, recommended. Good, like if you like this kind of game, if you like puzzle platformers, and you want to play something that has a unique, cool little art style, I definitely recommend this.
yes, I have played many a puzzle platformer, like things like Box Boy, and this seems right up my
Yeah.
alley.
And last but not least, I also played a little bit of River City Girls. This is on Game Pass, so I played it on Xbox, and I played this with Leah. This is a co-op beat 'em up. It's very like it has like this anime art style and just general like vibe to it. And you play as two high school girls who are going after their boyfriends that were kidnapped, and they basically beat up everybody that's on their way. It's very tongue in cheek. It's very humorous. Very like kind of over the top, annoying at times, anime voice acting. But so far, yeah, well, in the video that you can see right now, like, that's like the boyfriend's getting kidnapped, and then them going out and just beating up everybody on the way. You beat up people in the school, and then you get out of the school and you beat up people in the streets, and etc. It was, yeah, we played it for about an hour, and it was pretty fun. Although I have to say that the thing with beat 'em ups is that after you've played them for a certain amount of time, they start feeling kind of repetitive. I feel like beat 'em ups is one of those genres, and maybe you agree with me here, Lewis, maybe not, but I feel like they really benefited from being in arcades.
Yes.
And I feel like when you actually sit down to play a beat 'em up in a console, at least I can only play them for so long before I'm like, okay, I feel like I've seen, what this game has to show me, you know. But
Yeah,
fun time
yeah. Beat
nonetheless.
'em ups are like the situation where like you can't when you have like infinite lives and you can't like when it's not like based off of like putting in
Mhm.
another quarter and stuff like that. It's just it doesn't quite work. It's not the same. There's no stakes. It's like when you're playing at an arcade, you're trying not to die. When you're playing at a console, it doesn't matter if you die. You just hit continue or whatever. So
Yeah, I felt the same way when I think it was late last year that I played a little bit of Streets of Rage 4 with my brother-in-law, who which like that game is also like I feel like beat 'em ups are kind of having this resurgence
yes,
with Battletoads and River City Girls and Streets of Rage, and like I
and
feel like I've been hearing a lot about.
what's it called? Scott Pilgrim, and then Ninja Turtles
Yes.
coming out. Yeah.
Um but I felt the same way with that one too, where I played it for a while and eventually I was like, I'm tired of this. They start getting kind of boring after a little bit, but still if you want to check out a fun beat 'em up with, strong female characters, then that's something to look at. And that's it. I talked enough, you know, and I'll give the show back to you.
So before we go on to the battle bus, I just want to throw this out there. So a couple weeks ago, we haven't done impressions in weeks, by the way. A couple
Mhm.
weeks ago, I had some friends over. We were playing. We were doing a hanging out like we used to back in the good old days, pre-COVID and all that
Nice.
stuff. And we were playing some Tekken. We were playing some Dragon Ball Fighters, some Smash Bros. And it was just like the good old days. And it was like, oh my god, this is so awesome and everything like that. I was very happy. We had a good time. It was one of those perfect nights or whatever.
You know what? I'm gonna hold you up there for a second, unless you
No,
were you
go
done
for it.
with your story?
No, I
Okay.
was gonna continue, but go ahead. I can hold my thought.
I did play one other game in a similar kind of situation than you did, like getting to see friends again and hang out in person. Um, I played Dungeons and Dragons in not in a video game form, like role playing like Dungeons and Dragons for the first time in my life. I had never done that before.
Tabletop.
And it was, yeah, tabletop, and it was interesting because we're playing with this couple that we know, and the husband in the couple, it was his first time trying to DM because he had been playing it, but like, as a player, it was his first time trying to DM the game. And also it was like everybody's first time playing it. It was like myself, Leah, my sister, her boyfriend, and then this couple that we know. like 6 people, this guy DMing it, and 5 of us. And I always had this thing where I never really wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons because it seemed like such a time commitment. The people I knew that played it, they played it regularly, like every weekend for hours at a time,
Mm.
and that didn't seem like something that I wasn't willing to put that much time to it. But this guy was like, "No, let's just try this out. Like, let's just like start like a short campaign and see how it goes, and then we no pressure on finishing it or continuing to do it." And I had a good time. I my character was a noble human, so I kind of tried to get into character a little bit and to like act like nobility and etc. And we kind of try to role play our characters while also like trying to understand the game. And it's one of those games where you can kind of like
Get into
do
character.
almost it
Yeah.
get into character and then just kind of like enjoy your time and do whatever you want as long as you can like roll the dice for it. And obviously the DM was doing it for the first time, so he was also kind of trying to figure out how to do it, and he was giving us a lot of freedom to just kind of try things out and have fun and etc. But
Yeah.
we're going into this forest, we're trying to escort some cargo, we got attacked by goblins, and we had to fight the goblins, and then one of them was left alive, and we had to interrogate him and stuff, and find out there was another trap coming up, and it was fun. It was a fun time. So something I might try doing again.
Mm. I've done it before.
Yeah.
I played D&D with some coworkers back in the day, and we did it for like 4 weeks straight. Where it was like we did two campaigns. We did one long campaign that was like done in 3 parts, and then one shot. And then
Mhm.
after that, I dipped. I was like, I can't. It's too much of a time commitment. And we were doing it like for every Sunday, like for like 3 hours at a time. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's practically the whole day because I had to drive to him, which is like a long drive. And
Yeah.
yeah, so but it was nice. It was fun, and I can see why it's. I can see why it's addicting and fun and do and stuff. It's like it's very very social
Yeah.
and stuff. Uh, but yeah, man, time is money, So
Yeah, no, I feel the same way.
um, there's that, and then also, so just to finish my story, I just wanted to throw out that I got to finally play some Dragon Ball Fighters. I got very rusty, and I mean extremely rusty at Fighters. Like I was just getting like my ass whooped by Troy. He and like Troy's good at Fighters. He's like better than me at it, but like I could at least keep pace with him. Where like he was just curb stomping me, and I'm like okay. And then there was well, we played some Tekken, and I got some wins on my friends, and I was very happy with that. We played a couple rounds of Mortal Kombat, and with Mortal Kombat, it was so because we had put so much time into Tekken and fighters that Mortal Kombat felt slow and clunky by comparison. So it's just kind of one of those situations where like the rhythm wasn't quite there.
Yeah.
But also, as a separate side note, I just wanted to say that I have not played any of those games from Mortal Kombat to Tekken and Fighters. Like, I have not played them so long. Like, I have not booted them up. I have not played them even during COVID. Like, I only play those games socially when people come over, like, so I can do local multiplayer. I don't do online multiplayer on those games. And it was to the point where, like, not only did I have to, whenever I was like, oh yeah, let's play this game. And they're like, all right, let me put this PS4 disc in. And then like, oh, we have to download a 30 gigabyte update. Wait
Oh
45
yeah.
minutes. And I'm like, fuck. All right, well, I guess we'll play
Yeah.
some of this and we'll wait for this update to happen. And so there was a lot of that throughout the night, throughout the
Mhm.
game night, where we were updating games in the background. It was a real pain in the ass, and that's part of the reason why we only played like 10, 20 minutes of Mortal Kombat at the end. But
Mhm.
also, separate side note, I have not been keeping up with the DLCs of like the season threes and all that stuff of fighters and the newer seasons of Tekken. That by the time I booted it up, the last time I booted up, I had all the characters unlocked, and then the time that I booted up now, I have a whole row of characters that were grayed out, and I'm like, oh my god, it was disgusting, and I didn't spend any money. I was like, I'm not gonna spend money. Fuck that. You guys have to come more often
Mhm.
for this to be worth it, and so
Yeah.
yeah. I just wanted to throw that out
Cool.
there. But the games are still fun though. I just don't have all the characters anymore. So woe is me. All right, let's see here. Here we go. We both had the same idea.
Yeah, I know.
So I just wanted to say that I am so looking forward to Battle Bus. I've been wanting to do Battle Bus for such a long time, and what a week to do it because there's so much shit happening that I actually have to like leave some things for next week. So number one, you know what? Let's just get through these little boring ass stories before I go into story time. All right. So apparently, Sir Smash Brothers, the next fighter will be the last. So Sakurai has confirmed that Smash Brothers only has one more unannounced fighter to go, and
For the
there.
record,
Uh,
we don't need to read these stories. This is just like conversation topics, basically. If you want to talk
no, no,
about
no.
it, yeah.
I was just gonna just sort of like fly through them. I just
Okay.
wanted to say that I am disappointed in this headline. In my heart of hearts, I was pretty much willing. I knew that this was going to be the end, but I had like that's like 10% like hope that just maybe we can get a third season, especially because I already have like a dream scenario of all the characters that are going to be in season 3, that things from like
Mhm.
Sora and Scorpion and, yeah, Master Chief and Crash
Yeah.
Bandicoot. Like I had like all these characters, Shovel Knight, and like just characters
Hmm.
that could totally fit up a season 3 easy. You know what I mean? And the fact that we're only down to one character left, it's like it's a disservice to all the
Hmm.
hopefuls that can totally get in. So yeah, I don't really have much to say about that other than wanted to ask you: are you in disbelief or no?
I don't know. You know what's interesting is that isn't Smash Brothers kind of close to having 100 fighters by this point? Like, if you count all the like alternates and echo fighters and etc. I believe the last I heard is that there's 84 characters, but that's when you count them combined. Like when you count like or okay, so 74 actually.
Okay, so no, so that's the base
Uh
game. 74 base game. It's
oh, okay.
86 characters. So if you count the three Mii fighters, that's 89.
Okay. But then you could you potentially push that further if you counted like Pokemon trainers, three different characters and stuff like that? Or you know you know what I'm talking about. Like sometimes they have like different counts, like and what I was gonna get to is that I like 100 as a round number, and I think it would have been really cool if they found a way to get to 100 characters, even if they just throw in like a bunch of more Echo Fighters or something. You know what I mean?
So
Um,
actually, it's 89 characters, and that's including Pokemon trainers
oh,
being
okay.
three. So it's 86 now. There's 86 slots. 89 when you count Ivysaur and Charizard and Squirtle, and then also Pyra and Mithra, because those are two
Okay.
characters as well. So I guess 89 plus I guess another three with Mii fighters, unless that's also including Mii fighters already. 89. I don't know, but either
Mhm.
way, like we're not quite at 100 just yet. But with a third season, we would be in the 90s. So
Yeah. Yeah, we would if they did like two more seasons and then it sparked in some extras in there, like some piranha plants like releases and stuff. I think we could have gotten to 100 and that would
yeah.
anyway.
All right. Well, yeah. So there's that, and then also let's go ahead and stick with Smash here before we move on to Fortnite. So I played Kazuya.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so Kazuya, he dropped this week on just. They did the direct on Monday. I woke up to it. I didn't even realize it wasn't going to happen this week. I literally thought it was going to be this Wednesday. So they did the direct, and then they're like releasing tomorrow. So release on Tuesday. I gotta say that I am overwhelmed by how many moves this character has, and I play fighting games all the time. I even play Tekken. I even mastered certain characters in Tekken, but just the translating the move sets from Tekken and like one twos and all that stuff. They're not. It's not quite the same when you sort of like morph it into Smash. Even if you keep some certain similarities, there's still like it's still a lot to take in, especially because I'm holding a GameCube controller, so it's not quite the same like mentality just playing the game. And also just in general, like I've seen some crazy ass Kazuya combos that are insane Twitter combos. Everyone's already predicting that he's busted. He's a meta breaking and all this other stuff. But honestly, like I'm having trouble using him. He feels very slow. He feels very clunky. He doesn't feel very intuitive. But hats off to all the pro players that are just getting so much mileage out of them. I'm not going to be that person. I also struggle. I usually like when a DLC character comes out, the first thing I always do is I play a level 9 CPU. And almost all the time, I always win. And then Kazuya, I lost. I did not win my first CPU battle. And then on top of that, I fought against him as a CPU, like, as my regular characters, and I was losing to him. So holy shit, Kazuya is actually pretty strong, even as a CPU. So there's just it's not him, it's me kind of thing. Um, I'm very happy that he's in it, and I'm happy for the challenge of anyone that's can play him even halfway decent. So uh, yeah, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to say about Kazuya is that um, he looks pretty busted. I've seen some stuff.
You give it the thumbs up,
Oh
the
yeah, the
Lewis
thumbs
thumbs
up.
up.
Separate
Yeah.
side note though, I just want to say, in Tekken, there are 10-hit combos,
Hmm.
and 10-hit combos are like a thing that you have to memorize. Every individual input and timing, and like this, all this and that. Like those are a bitch to learn. And in Smash Brothers, it's just press A and just keep mashing A, or just hold A, and he automatically does the
Mm.
10-hit combo. So yeah, just throwing that out there.
Well, yeah, they're trying to make it easier for more accessible, as they say it. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and move on to Fortnite. Just a second. Do, do, do. All right. So for Fortnite, I just want to say that. All right. So those bastards, man, and the people at Fortnite are making me subscribe for another month to the Fortnite crew because
You know,
Loki is the skin of the month of July.
I subscribed to the Fortnite crew a few months ago just as a way to get the battle pass with, the extra V-Bucks and stuff. And then they got me in the sense that I forgot to like I was planning on just subscribing for a month and then canceling it. And then I forgot to cancel it. So I kept subscribed for like the next like 3 months. So I paid for this for like 3 months and they didn't even have really good rewards for the last few months.
I know. I know.
And then I just canceled it actually. But because I just canceled, I think I'm still gonna get Loki because I think I'm still gonna have it go through until like July 5th or something like that. So I'm probably still gonna get him, but I have to log in. I'm gonna be logging in tomorrow, and then I'll check if I get him or not. If not, then I might just subscribe again and to get him, and then cancel after that.
I've only
But
done the 1 month, which was the month they gave away. I think Flash. I think it might have been Flash or Arrow. Well, I think it was Arrow actually.
yeah,
Yeah.
Errol.
So
Louis, I do want to talk to you a little bit about the new season of Fortnite though. Like I know you were not wild about last season. In fact, you almost didn't play the game at all last season. How do you feel about this season?
I still haven't played it, to tell you the truth.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
I've
So,
been hearing a lot of really good things from my friends that are still playing Fortnite.
mm,
They are still saying, "Dude, there's so much good stuff. You get abducted by aliens. There's some mini games in there," and I'm like, "Jump on it." I'm like, "Okay, I'll get onto it," but I haven't. So
I don't really like the alien stuff. Like I find it like I almost find it like too much of a distraction. I know that whenever they do these seasons of Fortnite, they always are adding distractions to the core gameplay. That's just how it goes. But I just find it distracting and I just don't like it. Like I don't like when I'm just like walking around like the map and then I get abducted and I gotta deal with that or whatever. Or somebody driving around a UFO and like pulling people around and etc. It's just a pain in the ass. But I specifically wanted to talk about the battle pass because I kind of don't like the new battle pass format. Like the battle pass used to be where you get XP, you level up your level, and then you unlock rewards per level. Now they have this new currency format which are called stars, and then as you level up your battle pass, you get stars, and then you use the stars to buy the rewards from the battle pass.
what's the difference of just simply
However,
giving you the rewards if that's how they're gonna do
yeah,
it?
so like here's the thing. My understanding of it was like, oh, okay, they're giving you a little bit more player choice. So maybe if you want to like go for the skins first, you can do that. Versus otherwise, before you would have had to level up all the way to level like 99 or whatever to get the final skins. However, here's where I don't understand it is that the unlocking process is still fairly limited, where you can only unlock Like they're split into pages.
Mm-hmm.
Each page, or most of the pages, have a skin. You can only unlock the skin on that page after you've unlocked everything else on the page. But then more than that, you can't just go to whatever page you want. There's also an order to unlocking the pages. So the point is like ultimately it still works the same way. Like you still like the amount of choice that you're actually given as a player is very small. Like basically, I guess the way that it works is that if you would have been giving these rewards between level 1 and 10, now as you level up between level 1 and 10, you can kind of affect the order that you get things within
But not
that
really.
bucket.
But not really. Yeah.
But yeah, but that's it. Like, but you can't go and get a reward from like that you would have otherwise gotten on level 35 on level 10. That's impossible. So I
That,
just
and
don't see
also
the point.
you can't buy the skin first. Like that even
Yeah.
pisses me off. Like, what's the point of just hoarding these stars if you have to spend all these stars in order to even get the option to then buy the skin in place? It's like you might as well just done the old order of things where you get to like level 10 and then get the skin that comes with being at level 10. So I just,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really like a pain in the ass. It makes it look like it's okay. It's not even like confusing, but it makes it look like we're doing it for you, but you're really not. Because if you were, you
Yeah.
would give us more free reign. The whole idea of get through pages 1 through 5 and done first, and then you can start looking at page 6. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah. It feels very arbitrary, and I wish that if they were gonna go with the system, that they would have given us more freedom to actually like, maybe the skins are a lot of stars, but then if you don't spend stars on anything else, you can get all the skins by like level 20 or
Yeah.
but they didn't do that, so I don't see the point.
I mean, they're just basically trying to make it so that way you're still playing it. You're still getting to level 100. You're still being forced to.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. But I do have a story.
go for it,
So
Lewis.
I went to a party, and I went to like
Okay.
a house party, and my nephew was gonna be there. It was like a family get together, and a lot of times at these house parties, we would just break away and be in our own little room, and the we would sometimes I would bring my Switch, and my nephew would carry around his Xbox in his backpack, and his has a little portable setup with like a little portable monitor. So all you need is just
Oh, cool.
electricity, and then there you go. He's set up.
Hmm.
And so he's like, my nephew was like, bring your PlayStation 4, and I'm like, okay, fine, fine. And like I packed my PS4 in my backpack because that's where my main account is. My main account is my PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5. Anytime I bring my Switch, it's like not really making any progress because it's like my separate account that I don't play on. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna bring my PS4. I did it, and I was playing. We set up. We're playing like in duos and stuff like that together. With my other cousins, they were there. They could have played. They didn't want to. Um, and so what ended up happening was I was there, and I'm like, oh, let me get this let me get this skin here. I was like, oh, I can't afford the skin. Okay, let me spend this $80 to load up on 12,000 V bucks right here. And so I went and made the purchase real quick, and boom, I'm like, all right, cool. I got this. I got these 13,000 V bucks. Now I got 12,000. I spent my little shop emotes and stuff like that, and got it going. And then we played a couple of games, and I'm like, good. I'm like at level 9, 10, whatever. And after that, I'm like, all right, I'm kind of done playing. I kind of want to go eat, so let's just pause here. We'll eat, come back, and then we'll play some more. And then one of my cousins, his see, I'm meeting some kids for the first time at this party, and so I didn't know that one of these kids was my semi estranged cousin's kid or whatever. Like I'm meeting this kid for the first time, and I was like, the kid wanted to play Fortnite, and I'm like, okay, kid, I don't know, you can play Fortnite at my PlayStation 4 here. Here's the
Oh no, I
controller.
see where this is going.
Here's my controller, and just don't buy anything, okay? Just like I have
How
12,000 V
old is this
bucks.
person?
He looks like to be about 8 years old. Uh,
Okay.
you know, he's. I thought he was there. He
Hmm.
understood instructions. He knew how to play Fortnite. He knew how to navigate the menu. He knew about the battle
Hmm.
pass. He was telling me to
Hmm.
spend my stars that I'm like hoarding because I have not spent a single star like since I've
Hmm.
got the battle pass. Actually, no, I take that back. the reason why I haven't spent a single star is because I never bought the battle pass until that night. That's the reason why I needed to
Hmm.
spend the V bucks. Like, all right, let me get these V bucks, let me get this battle pass as well as these extra skins. And so I'm like, now I have all these stars that unspent. I'm like, don't touch them. I'm gonna be right back. I'll mess with it on my own time. And
Hmm.
so I go and eat, and I come back, and then it turns out, and I'm like, and I'm about to sit down and start playing, and I was like, all right, let's start this next matchup, and I'm like, wait a minute, why do I have 2,000 V bucks? And I'm like, like 10,000 V bucks are gone, and I'm like,
Oh
look at the kid, and I'm
no.
like, kid, come here, and he starts like backing away, and I'm like,
Oh no.
it's like, what did you do? And I'm like, why? And then like I'm like looking around. I'm like, I'm a level 50. I'm like, there's no way. We weren't gone that long. And so it turns out he paid V Bucks for levels. He leveled me up, and those are non-refundable. You can't undo that. And he bought
Oh my
skins on my
god.
account, and it just so happens that you are allowed for the lifetime of your account. You are allowed 3 refunds, no questions asked, and I had to use all 3 of those refunds, and it's like a strike, like it's like it keeps track, and now I don't have any more vouchers for refunds anymore because I had to use them.
That's so that's stupid. They shouldn't have like three for the lifetime of your account. They should have like or at least like if they were gonna do it that way, then a day's worth of spending should count as like one strike because it's very possible that if somebody like robbed your account or whatever and started spending your V bucks, that they wouldn't just buy one thing.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. So I had to use
So
up all 3 of mine and to get the refund, and so now I'm no and now if I do an accidental purchase or if I regret a purchase, I can't refund it anymore. And like that was my main account, and I'm like, and
that's
so
so lame that he spent like so much of it on just levels
I know. So
because that's one of the
I was able to get not most of it back. I think I got it back up to like I don't know 6, 7,000 whatever V bucks.
mhm,
So ultimately, I lost about 5,000 V bucks and levels. And
mhm.
I'm now at level 50, and I haven't played the game since. So at least I'm not like behind as far as where I should be.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like honestly, like I didn't get mad at the kid because like the other kids that were in the room told me, oh, he's autistic, and I'm like, you know, I just, I
Okay.
couldn't. I was like, all right, fine, whatever. Uh, I'll just, I'll just deal with it.
Mhm.
I know I really wanted to like get upset and mad, but I literally left a kid alone with my PlayStation,
Yeah.
unsupervised, with 12,000 V bucks on the ready.
I feel like at the end of the day, like it sucks, but that's more on you, really. I like it's one of those things where it's like I understand why you did it. I would have probably done the same. But it's also like you can't blame like an 8-year-old kid, like autistic or not. Like you can't blame an 8-year-old kid for like spending your money in a game. I feel like because that's they'll do that.
I'm
You
like, I
know what
sat
I
him down
mean?
and I'm like, this isn't your account. This isn't your money. I told him, I was like, hey,
Mm,
look. I just told him very calmly. I was like, hey, look, this isn't your account. Buying skins on my account isn't for you. You're not gonna play this game here,
hmm.
So I'm like, you don't
Yeah.
live with these skins, these raggedy ass skins that I don't want.
Hmm.
So I was able to do, like I said, I was able to recoup most of it, but um, yeah, I guess never doing that again.
All right. Well, lesson learned.
Yeah.
All right, Lois. Do you wanna play the sound effect for our next segment?
All right, let's do it. Dan, I'm very happy that you managed to trim the fat on this segment.
Yes, yes, because we're 45 minutes in and only now getting to the segment. So when Lewis does this, he adds a lot of content to it, and I wanted to keep it more to things that we were more likely to have something to say about. That is not the case for all the years. In fact, I'm going to point out a year where to me I would have been fine cutting out that year altogether, but I figured maybe you would have something to say, so we'll get there. But you know, Temple of Time, to those that to the uninitiated, is the segment here in Ready Press Play. We do it once a month, usually in the first week of the month, where we get to look back at games that are turning 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 flagship anniversaries in that month. So games that came out at this point in July of 2016, 2011, etc. And we're going to look through all of those. So we're going to start with July of 2016, 5 years ago. So all of those games are turning 5 years old this month. We're going to start with the sensation, the epic Pokemon Go that
Top
took the
20
world by
of the
storm.
2010s of Ready Press Play.
Yes, yes, it made it in there. This game came out, and I would have never guessed it would become as big as it did. Um, I didn't even think even back then that it was that great of a game, but it was innovative in a way. Like there, I know that it was built on the technology that the company that Niantic already had for Ingress, but the Pokemon franchise, brought it to another level of attention, and then that was a lot of people's first introduction to that kind of technology. And I spent hours and hours and hours, weeks and weeks and weeks playing the shit of Pokemon Go at that point during that summer. Uh, it came out during this time frame in my life where I really wasn't doing much, to be honest. So I would like just kind of go out and go in these long walks. I would walk for hours just trying to explore, my town. At this point, I was in Orlando, I believe. Yeah, I was just going around Orlando, exploring everything, playing Pokemon Go. It was a good time.
Ditto. We my friends and I went on a walk uh, over like a park, like a mile like long or a couple mile long walkway and stuff like that, playing this game. Getting getting Pokestops on that trail. So yeah, I agree.
And I was never able to get into it again like since 2016, but I've tried. Like I've tried many times. I've like every once in a while I'll install the app again and be like I'm going to try to play this a little bit more, but I just can't get into it anymore, and I wish I could. I wish something like that would take its claws on me again, because I want to have. I know this is stupid to say it like that, but I want to have a reason to be walking outside and exploring my town again. That feels like compelling and fun, like it did with Pokemon Go. But Pokemon Go, I feel like it's it's gone. Like it doesn't do it for me anymore. I need something new.
I got a
Um.
story.
Okay.
I was at a Smash tournament, and there was this Pokemon Go had just recently came out like months ago, and then somebody blurted out, "Everyone, a Blastoise spawned!" And then instant pandemonium against everyone is like all running and stuff in place trying to, and yeah, I caught the
Yeah.
Blastoise that immediately. I just want
Awesome.
to throw that out
Awesome.
there.
Yeah, I loved those moments. All right, other games starting 5 years old are the Ghostbusters game that came out for PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Song of the Deep that came out for PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Monster Hunter Generations that came out in North America for the 3DS in July of 2016. I Am Setsuna, which its worldwide release was on PS4 and PC in July 2016. And We Happy Few, a game that actually came out in 2018, was an early access for PC, Mac, and Linux in July 2016.
Yeah.
Anything else that you played here, Louis, or no?
I just want to give a shout out to Song of the Deep. It's basically like Journey, but in the water. Oh,
So
wait,
like, so like
no, wait. That's
Abzu.
not Song of the Deep. Take that back. Song of the Deep, isn't that the GameStop produced one that was like a
Yes.
Metroidvania? Okay, I was thinking about
Hmm.
that water one. Ah, damn it. Never
Yeah,
mind.
that's Abzu.
That's
But
Abzu.
you
Yeah,
know,
that's
some
right.
some of those games they get mixed up in my head as well. Like, cause I played Call of the Sea and Sea of Solitude in the same year, and all the time I get those games mixed up in my head. And now like Song of the Deep also gets mixed up with those, and I'm like I had to think about it for a while to remember what Song of the Deep
They
was.
got similar
Yeah, I never
promotional
played it.
images. That's why.
Yes, yes, true. All right, let's go back a little bit further. Games that are turning 10 years old this month came out in July of 2011. And we got NCAA Football 12. Is that how we say it? NCAA or NCAA?
NCAA.
Hmm. NCAA Football 12. That one actually, I only put it in here, I think, but there were multiple, almost every year this game came out during the summer. Um, I'm actually waiting for you to highlight the thing so
I
that I
got
can
it.
read.
There we go.
All right. NCAA Football 12 came out on the Xbox 360 and PS3. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, I think it was the part 2 game, came out on Xbox 360, PS3, PC, Wii, and DS. Call of Juarez The Cartel came out on 360, PS3, and PC. Captain America Super Soldier came out on 360, PS3, Wii, and DS. Bastion originally came out on the Xbox Live Arcade. Catherine came out on Xbox 360 and PS3. In North America, it had already released in Japan. And Pac Man and Galaga Dimensions came out in North America for the 3DS. I've already talked enough about Catherine in the podcast, so I don't want to do it anymore. Go play it. The full body remaster on PS4 and Xbox One is great. Um, what do you want to shout out, Lewis?
Bastion. It's got a long tail.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like literally been, I would say it's been relevant for much like for most of that 10-year span for about 5 years
Yeah,
when it kept getting ported to like the Vita and the PS4 and all this other
it
stuff.
got
Like,
ported to the Switch, I think,
oh
recently, like
yeah,
maybe last year. Between last year and this year, it got ported to the Switch. So yeah, and that. I believe that was the first game by Supergiant, who has since released
Hades.
Transistor, Pyre, and now Hades.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's been cool to see that studio's journey. I feel like they make games that have a similar like art style, but that at the same time they're each like very unique as well.
they're innovating too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's also my main shout out there. And this is also the era still of the licensed games to see, a lot of those movie tie-in games that we don't see as much. Um,
Oh, thank you.
all right.
I'm done.
Now, on July of 2006, or 15 years ago, we had Prey coming out on PC and Xbox 360. This was the original Prey, and not the remake slash reboot that came out a few years ago. Miami Vice, the game, came out on the PSP. Super Dragon Ball Z came out on the PS2 in North America. Cloning Clyde came out on the PS2. Civ City Rome came out on PC, and Civilization 4 Warlords, which was an expansion to Civ 4, came out on PC as well. I'm a big Civ fan. I've mentioned in the podcast before that I haven't played should, but I played the shit out of Civ 4. I don't remember if I played that expansion or not, but I feel like with Civ 4, I bought one of those packages that was like game of the year kind of package with the game and all the expansions. So I probably did play that. But just an overall phenomenal game. It's actually, I think that Civ 4 was one of hmm, potentially my favorite Civ game. I have a lot of nostalgia for that one, just like I do for two as well. But honestly, give that one a shout out.
Okay. All right. Let's see. I just want to say, why the hell are you naming it Super Dragon Ball Z? Because like you don't put Super in there unless it's a Super Nintendo game. But whatever. Uh, Secondly, I just want to say the only game that I'm familiar with, or even like remotely, is because of the franchise. I know what Prey is, so there you go. I didn't even know Prey was that old, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, me neither. 20 years ago, on July of 2001, we had, and I put it in here too, NCAA Football 2002 came out on the PS2. Final Fantasy X on the PS2. Mario Kart Super Circuit came out on the GBA in Japan. And Max Payne came out on PC. Max Payne, which by the way, I mentioned like last week or a few weeks ago when we were talking about the new game announced by Avalanche Studios, which is called Contraband. I think I said, "Oh, the developers. I think they're the developers of Max Payne." I was wrong about that. Say it was Just Cause, and I'm bringing this up because I get those two. We're talking about like franchises that we get mixed up and stuff. I get those two mixed up in my head all the time. Max Payne and Just Cause are the same in my small brain.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I know about Max Payne is that Mark Wahlberg movie.
Oh.
I bet you forgot that even existed.
Yep. All right. Going back further. You know what?
Actually,
Have you ever played Super Circuit?
yes, I was actually gonna go into that next. Here is, um, I actually have a lot of memories with Mario Kart Super Circuit because I got that I got the Game Boy Advance cartridge. I got it a couple of times because I don't know. I just something about it intrigued me. It's basically like the first ever handheld Mario Kart, and
Hmm.
it's basically like Super Nintendo graphics. Since it is a Game Boy Advance, it's basically a handheld Super Nintendo 16-bit system, and they basically it was like it's not like a good game mechanically like by today's standards, but it did do one thing. It was the first Mario Kart game to pioneer, and I see that in air quotes, pioneer the retro tracks, because with like the Mario Kart and N64 Mario Kart, they were always making brand new tracks and never reusing old tracks. So now we for this game in particular, they brought back every single Super Nintendo course back into the game, and that's cool. I liked it. I ended up giving a copy of this game to my nephew when he was a child. I gave him for his birthday. I gave him Mario Kart DS and Mario Kart for the Game Boy Advance together as like a bundle for his birthday. And because he had a Nintendo DS Lite that also had Game Boy Advance cartridges at the bottom, so he was able to play both games. And of course, he liked it. Yeah. So
Cool. Going back even further, 25 years ago, July of 1996. And this is the year that I consider cutting altogether because I have nothing to say about any of those games. But
wow.
these are all the games that came out in July of 1996. Nights into Dreams, Sega Saturn, Saturn Bomberman, Sega Saturn, Star Ocean on the Super Nintendo, The King of Fighters 96 for the Neo Geo and the Saturn, Bust a Move 2 Arcade Edition for the Saturn and PS1, Phantasmagoria, A Puzzle of Flesh for MS-DOS and Windows, and Virtua Fighter Kids for the Saturn arcade.
Okay. How dare you want to cut this one? Like you do realize what Nights into Dreams is, right?
I had never heard those words in combination before, even though they actually make a lot of sense to be combined.
All right, let's do this here. Let's do Nights
All right. So we're
into
doing a
Dreams.
little research
All right,
moment.
I know what
Ready,
Nights
press
into
play.
Dreams is. I'm just surprised you don't know what that is. Let's see here.
Oh, I've seen this. I've seen that character.
All right, let's see here. Let's get through this ad, the stupid ad. There we go. Let's just skip along right to this part. There we go.
All right.
All right.
I have definitely seen that main character before. Um,
Let's see.
but is this one of those classic Sega franchises or something? Because
Let's see that. You see
I,
that? You've seen this before, right?
yeah, yeah, I am not really familiar with Sega franchises at all. I don't think I've ever touched a Sega console, to be honest with you.
Nights into
Yeah.
Dreams got like an HDFI remake in the current gen consoles, or at least for the PS4
Nope.
and Xbox One. This game was like literally remade. It's to
Oh,
look like this
okay.
too.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, this
Didn't
was
know
like one of
that.
those like big pioneering like 3D games. Like, oh my god, it's so mind blowing. Yeah, this is one of the reasons to get a Saturn. So
Okay, this is one of the reasons why I have you in this podcast. You know, to
so
to
for all you audio listeners, sorry. I just want to say
to
that. But let me
yeah.
just see here. Like, let me just say that for all you audio listeners, just if you even vaguely know about what Nights into Dreams is, if you don't know, if you're too young or whatever, it's just like this purple character, like Sprixie type, like think Manic Dream Girl, Pixie Manic Dream Girl, who's just floating around like Tinkerbell and Peter Pan, flying around in like three-dimensional, like little topsy-turvy things, going through Superman 64 rings, collecting coins, that kind of stuff. Did I do a good job?
You did, Lewis. You did a surprisingly good job.
I literally made all of
You
that up
know,
as I was going along.
you did a surprisingly good job. And I thought the game you would want to talk about in this section would have actually been the King of Fighters 96.
See, I don't
Just
know any particular King of Fighters because there's so many of them. I might have actually even played
hmm
this. Actually, I played King of Fighters
hmm
growing up on the Sega Genesis and arcades. So that's not to say like I'm not giving any like how do you put it, like any shade to it, because I don't know which King of Fighters I played. That's how many of them there are. So
yeah.
yeah. So with that being said, I don't. In general, I like the franchise. I know Terry's in there from Smash Brothers. But I do want to give a shout out to Bust a Move too. I have not played a single Bust a Move game, but I have played when I bought my PlayStation 1, or when I got a PlayStation 1 for Christmas, it came with a demo disc. And inside that demo disc was a
Mhm.
demo for Bust a Move 4. And I played the shit out of that demo. So just want to throw that out there.
Cool. Cool, cool, cool. All right. Going back further, 30 years ago, July of 1991, when Lewis was a little baby and I hadn't even been conceived yet, Square released Final Fantasy IV in Japan, the first Final Fantasy game for the Famicom, which was released later in America in November as Final Fantasy II
I have that
because
game.
of the different numbering
Yes.
of these games. Regarded as one of the best Final Fantasy games, as far as I know. A lot of people really love this one. Um, I have not played almost any Final Fantasy game at all, so I don't really have any opinion on it. But still a meaningful point for the franchise there. 35 years ago, it was 10 years after Atari's breakout. Taito releases Arkanoid, which adds power ups and unique levels and generally reinvigorates the concept. So I've played Arkanoid before. That's one of those like classic arcade games. Breakout really started this like genre, and then Arkanoid just kind of took it further. And it's one of those games where like everybody has played it, whether you know it or not. You may have not played this particular iteration of it, but everybody has played this game in some way. We call them brick breakers. Um, it's really a genre, one of the oldest genres in video games, and one that we surprisingly don't really get to see a lot of anymore. Um, at least not in new releases, but
So, okay, yeah, it says here 10 years after Atari's breakout. Okay, so I remember us covering this on Temple of Time where we were talking about, oh, breakout, like with Steve
yes.
Jobs and like, was just like, oh, he programmed like what would be like breakout and stuff like that. I just wanted to say that, yeah, interesting. Arkanoid, it's like the evolution. It's like basically you're saying about power ups and yeah,
Mhm.
that's interesting because they're not basic, so.
Yeah. And the perhaps the biggest one this month, which is now turning 40 years old because it came out in July 1981. On July 9th, specifically, Nintendo released Donkey Kong, which introduced the characters of Donkey Kong and Mario and set the template for the platform game genre. It is also one of the first video games with an integral storyline. So, we know the story about how like Nintendo had machines that had been built for another game whose name I can't remember, but I bet you do, Lewis. And they had like the game was not selling, it was not working out. They wanted to repurpose this machine for a new game, and that's when they had at this point young little designer artist Shigeru Miyamoto stepped up to the plate to design this new game that they were going to repurpose the machines for, and that's where Donkey Kong came from. And there's a lot of you can see more of the story behind Donkey Kong in an episode on the Netflix show. Um, fuck. The Netflix show is not called Fuck, but there's a Netflix show about video game history that is really good, and I'm gonna look it up while you talk
All
so
right,
that I can
so
give this a proper shout out.
for the uninitiated, Donkey Kong has been like this storied legacy and made Nintendo and everything like that. Mario was not even named Mario in Donkey Kong. His name was Jumpman, and he was later like retroactively named Mario after the fact. Pauline, the character that sings in Super Mario Odyssey, is actually the character that you rescue in the game. It's not Daisy, it's not Peach, it's not Princess Toadstool. It was Pauline. She was basically sort of forgotten about in Nintendo history until they finally brought her back in the early to mid aughts, whenever they started doing the Mario versus Donkey Kong series, and then that's how she became relevant again. Also, before you say anything, Dan, just want to say because of the success that Donkey Kong had brought to the arcades, Universal Studios or some movie company wanted to get some in on some money action, and they filed a lawsuit saying that they like infringed on King Kong or something like that. So
Yes. And the lawyer, and this gets covered on this episode of the show, High Score. That's the name of giving it a shout out, recommend it. Episode 2, Comeback Kid, is about the story of Donkey Kong. And one of the things that they cover in that episode as well is that the lawyer who defended Nintendo in the case, in the Donkey Kong case,
Jack
was
Kirby.
named Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
And that's where Kirby, the character of Kirby, came from. And actually, if you put this guy's face next to an image of Kirby, you can tell the character is slightly based off of him because he has this very like he has this like very round pink face.
I
So
thought, see, I
yeah.
knew about Jack Kirby. Like my understanding when I saw a documentary on YouTube about this, about the lawsuit, and they said in the documentary that Nintendo has denied that it's based off of the lawyer. Like, oh no, it's just coincidence. Like I don't
Oh,
know.
that's at least on the documentary I watched. They didn't treat it that way. They were almost like that was like Nintendo saying thanks to him. They decided to immortalize him as a character. So I don't know.
I believe it.
Um,
I mean, like I said, I don't know. Maybe they wanted to like not say that publicly, but they actually do that privately without making it obvious. I don't know, but yeah.
but Lewis, you've alluded to this earlier in the podcast, and there is something else that came out roughly 25 years ago. We're a little bit behind on it now. This should it's was something that we intended on covering a few weeks ago. But why don't you play your next sound effect so that we can do a special segment here? Yeah, so sharing the love is a segment where we typically talk about a game that has changed us, moved us, something that has affected our past, that we something from our childhood and etc. You guys know the drill. And it turns out that the Nintendo 64 released in Japan in June 23rd, 1996, so roughly 25 years ago. And I wanted to kind of give Lewis an opportunity to talk about his experiences with the Nintendo 64. Really quick, I never owned a Nintendo 64. I've barely played the Nintendo 64. I played some games like later in like 3DS releases or Wii Virtual Console and stuff like that. But I don't have as much of a connection to the Nintendo 64 as other people do. So, Lewis, take it away.
So I want to say that growing up as a child, I never owned a Nintendo 64 either. My aunt did, and anytime I would spend the night at my cousin's house, or anytime I would just go over to my cousin's house, period, to go hang out with them, I would always play their Nintendo 64, and that's how I first got into Smash 64. Whenever I was at another cousin's house and they also owned an N64, we would do four-player Smash, all that good stuff. But I ended up getting like an N64 as an adult when I got my own money, and I went back and played all the games that I used to play at other people's houses. And so I have many stories about playing like Ocarina of Time, playing all like Mario 64, all those things. I lived through them by like little vertical slices through other people's stuff. I think I even had like I spent a summer in Mexico with my family, and they had an N64, and that's how I beat Ocarina of Time, is through living with them for like a month. So as far as like as a general like ode to the N64, I just want to just go ahead and pull up my little list of games that I own for the Nintendo 64 right now. And let's take a look and see if there's any particular shout outs that I want to give a shout out to. Let's see. Okay, here's a story. Sharing the love. My cousin, the aforementioned cousin that I always go to the house with, they would rent their games from Blockbuster, and then there was one in particular game that they rented that I always will remember, and it was called Conker's Bad Fur Day. And of course, I talked about how Conker was in Smash 64 when they in the mod. And a lot of people, surprisingly, a lot of my friends that I hang out with, the ones that I play Tekken and Dragon Ball Fighters with, they don't know who the fuck Conker is, and it insults me. And I'm like, you're not that much younger than me. But whatever. So, as far as Conker's Bad Fur Day, the reason why it's so awesome is it's an M-rated rare game. That's all like, oh, look at I'm cute and cuddly. I look family friendly, but he's just like gets a chainsaw and like cuts a logo in half and says stupid logo and kicks it and stuff like that. Um, and I just want to say that the the thing about that makes Conker so funny is that my family rented it from Blockbuster, but they never returned it, and they accumulated late fees, and like they ended up like turning it in like later, but to the
Until
point where
okay.
it's like it's like an overdue library book that you just like fuck it, they could have just
Yeah.
bought the game instead of like checked it out as long as they did, but I just want to say that it was hilarious, but I played the shit out of it every time I went over. Um, yeah, that one. Shout out to
I
Conquer.
thought you I thought you were gonna say that they kept the game until Blockbuster went under. So they never needed to return. You know, it's funny. I don't want to go on that tangent for long, but with the overdue book fees, it's funny like how much I would stress about that as a kid, and like I would forget about returning a book, and I would get like so like in my head about it, and like at the end of the day, like I feel like so many times they wouldn't even charge me like at like the library in school and stuff like that, but.
Um,
Anyway, cool.
Couple more
Glad
stories.
to
Just a couple
yeah,
more
go ahead.
stories. All right. I just want to say shout out to GoldenEye. I played that a lot as well. A lot of hand slaps, a lot of no odd jobs, all that stuff. Mario Kart 64. I even played that as an adult. I even like took it to my brother's house, and my cousins, even they're all grown adults, stuff like that. They're still getting a kick out of it. It's still relevant and it's still playable even to this day. Also, Mario parties. I still played N64 Mario parties as part of a rotation. And then when my friends came over, I even did like a let's play of it or on my YouTube channel. NFL Blitz. We played it a lot back in the day. We still played it even to this day. Whenever we like say, hey, let's try it out, and then they're like, oh, I'm badass. No, you're not badass, and I'm badass, and all that kind of stuff. And then it turns out I'm not even that good at the game, and even all my other friends are still good at it. They still didn't get rusty, and I may not even be good to begin with, and I will never play Fame at any football game. Period. Let alone Blitz. But I did play. I played him one time, like as we were adults and stuff like that. I brought my N64 over. We played one game of Blitz, and I was like, okay, that's it. I'm done. Or it's he like utterly curb stomped me, and I'm like, I'm not even gonna try it anymore. And yeah, oh, also and shout out to Star Fox 64. That's the only one I want to give a shout out to, just because it's Star Fox 64. Yeah, that's it.
I'm gonna give a shout out to my favorite Nintendo 64 game, which I played on the 3DS, which is Ocarina of Time. Easiest shout out ever.
Nice.
Um, and to Super Mario 64 as well, even though I never finished that, which I
Neither have
can't
I.
remember if that's yeah, yeah, cool. Um, but anyway, that's it for our sharing the love segment today. We still got quite a bit of show to cover, and we're running long. So let's go ahead and hit our new segment, Lewis.
Oh, you bastard! You didn't want to do the story.
Yeah,
I
it's not there. It's not. There's no news to the story. It was just like, yeah. Let's just move on.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
All right, so let's do this. The first news story of the day is that PlayStation is going on a buying spree, Lewis. The first thing that they did was announce that they are buying Housemarque. So Housemarque is joining the PlayStation family. This is the studio behind Resogun, behind Super Stardust, behind more recently Returnal. Right, this is a studio that has been working with PlayStation a second party capacity for a while anyway. That has been developing all these beloved more like indie flavored PlayStation exclusives. And I feel like this is, it's something that we could have predicted very easily that this would be one of their next acquisitions. What do you think of this acquisition, Lewis?
I feel like they're about 8 years too late. You know, they should have
hmm
been scooped them up when they started developing Resogun. Like,
hmm
and to think that like the PlayStation 4 is like 7.5 years old now, and that was a PS4 launch title.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And one of the best ones of that too. I remember that it was one of the standouts of the PS4 launch library that at that point didn't really have a lot of like super exciting like new exclusive stuff. As is really the case with most new console launches, and Resogun I remember was one of the things that kind of stood out from the bunch at that point. So yeah, this is cool. It makes sense. It's interesting to see that Sony is actually going after buying some studios now. We're gonna hit up others here as well. Now, here's the interesting thing: is that when Sony, when in one of the Twitter feeds where they announced this acquisition, rather than posting, there's like this cool, nice edited social media image that they share of like Housemark joins the PlayStation family.
like this one,
But
or no?
yes,
Oh,
yeah, that image I think. So rather than sharing that image, there was one of the Twitter accounts that accidentally shared an image that had the Bluepoint Games logo in it. You can pull up the next story from the doc here if you want, Louis, on the for our video viewers. But so one of the Twitter accounts pulled up an image that said Bluepoint Games. It was also like an equally like edited like social media content. And then they deleted it right after and posted the correct one. But it led to like a lot of people reacted like, "Oh, holy shit, Sony bought Bluepoint Games," and then they ended up deleting that. So we don't know now. And we're gonna circle back to this in a second. Like, it sounds like Sony has actually also acquired Bluepoint Games, but they have not officially announced that yet. Bluepoint Games being the studio that was most recently involved with remaking Demon Souls for the PS5, a PS5 launch title as well. And before that, they also remade Shadow of the Colossus in 2018. I believe they've worked in other like projects of that sort as well. I played the Shadow of the Colossus remake from 2018. I thought it was gorgeous. I thought it was an excellent game. Demon Souls, as much as I'm not a fan of the franchise, and neither are you, is a beautiful PS5 game as well. I feel like it's one of the most beautiful games on the console so far. Um, Now, what do you think? Like, what do you think Sony's plan is if they are indeed also acquiring Bluepoint? Do you think they're just going to start farming out more remakes to this studio?
Yeah, I think that's what they're really good at. I think they should stick with that, especially because they can be like, all right, let's make a Jack and Daxter remake. Let's revitalize this franchise. I feel like that's something what they're really good at is, not just putting on a new coat of paint, but also making things fresh as well. So, I kind of, I don't know. Actually, I feels really wrong to say that because it almost kind of feels like you're like it's like wasted resources, wasted talent. They should be making something new, but I don't know.
I
We've
mean, these remakes are super successful, right? Like Demon Souls, I feel like that was one of the main like so far it's one of the main PlayStation exclusives,
yeah.
right? It's like it's Demon Souls, Ratchet and Clank, and it's kind of interesting to think of it this way. What are the big PlayStation exclusives right now? Demon Souls, Ratchet and Clank, and Returnal. And what are the studios that like Insomniac Games was the last studio Sony acquired, and now they are acquiring Housemarque officially and supposedly acquiring Bluepoint as well. So they're putting their money where their mouth is, I guess. You
It's
know
kind
what
of
I
funny
mean?
that both of these images, though, like they're basically the same image twice. Like I can see how somebody who's just like has a PNG folder with these things next to each other, and then accidentally
Yeah,
like release the wrong one on Twitter or whatever.
yeah. I will say it's kind of interesting that the Housemarque image had, or both of the images actually have a character from Returnal in it, which is like the astronaut looking character in the middle, but none of them feature a character from Bluepoint, like from either Shadow of the Colossus or Demon Souls. So maybe let's take this with a grain of salt. Maybe that image could be not real somehow, right? Because I you would expect that on that announcement had something from Bluepoint as well.
I'm
But
surprised that
those
they
were
weren't like all of these verticals. They should have made it so that they're all like Housemark games. Like I'm surprised they didn't
true.
do like the thing where it's like you'd see like a little resogun like ship flying around or some kind of like
Yeah.
super stardust image or whatever. So it's like I'm surprised they didn't do like that thing where it's like we welcome Bethesda and they show all of the Bethesda stuff right there or whatever.
I feel like it's because they're trying to show more as like, hey, this studio is now part of the Sony PlayStation Studios family, and they want to put them alongside everybody else. But then it's also because there's not that many recognizable things that they could use from Housemark, I believe. I mean, they have worked on plenty of games, but if you put like Resogun and Super Stardust and those games next to each other, I don't think it conveys like it's different than when you have like Fallout and Doom and Elder Scrolls. Like the power there is a lot different than when you look at this. But I actually think it's interesting to analyze Sony's acquisitions next to Microsoft's and kind of compare the two because they're also making different types of acquisitions and having different strategies here as well. The final one that I want to mention on the stock is that they acquired a company called Nixus Software, which is a company specialized in PC ports, which, in my opinion, is very clear. Hints at the fact that Sony is going to continue to bring their first party titles to PC. Uncharted 4 potential port to PC was rumored a while ago, and we talked about it in the show. We also saw Days Gone come to PC earlier this year, I believe. Horizon Zero Dawn came to PC last year. Ghost of Tsushima, I think there's been ramblings about that happening as well, if it's not official. So we're probably going to continue to see more of that with now an in-house studio handling some of those ports as well. So, Bliss, what do you think overall about like Sony's like purchasing little purchasing spree? Right?
I'm not, it's not exactly one of those kind of situations where it's like, oh, it's so exciting and stuff like that. Some of them
Yeah,
are a bit obvious, like as far as like the Resogun developers. Damn it, I'm already blanking.
Housemarque.
Housemark, yes. It's like it's like one of those like it almost kind of feels like old news in the sense that some
Yeah,
people may even think that they were already PlayStation first party, just based off how the fact that they were always releasing only on PlayStation. So
that's
yeah.
that's the interesting thing too. Is like we may take some things for granted where like me and you and people that follow this stuff very closely like know this stuff pretty well, but a lot of the people that are going out there buying their games and playing them and not necessarily listening to all the podcasts about it and etc. They don't really understand the difference between first party, second party, third party. Like I think there's a lot of people out there that would just associate like, oh yeah, like that's PlayStation. You know, like Demon Souls, that's PlayStation. Like they don't even understand necessarily that's like, oh no, that's a separate studio that just got like paid to make that game exclusive or whatever. So yeah, this this stuff makes sense. And it's a different strategy than Xbox was going and spending a shit ton of money to get, you know, this huge family of studios that will be making, you know, AAA games that will now be exclusive to Xbox and PC. Versus Sony is like they already have this powerful family of studios. They're going and spending a lot less money making these, you know, more like um how can you say like specific acquisitions that will fulfill certain niches. I think like, hey, like we need some help with PC
Diversified
ports, let's
their
get.
portfolio.
Yeah,
Also, not to mention, like I will say this, like there is, as a general feeling on this matter, and I didn't really like voice it when I talked about the Bethesda acquisition or whatever, but as a feeling, it almost kind of feels like Sony's doing it the right way, and I say that in air quotes because there's really no right way to do business in this kind of industry. Um, but I say that the right way in the sense that it almost feels like it's very homegrown. It feels like they're doing it the right way as far as like building a
yeah.
relationships with like Housemarque and second party studios, and then finally getting around to like, okay, you know what, Insomniac, I think we can do something. It's going to be a mutual beneficial thing. It feels like it doesn't feel like with Sony. It doesn't feel like evil corporate overlord overreaching with their power. Whereas with Microsoft, it does. With Microsoft, I almost would have preferred them to have like 30 plus studios if they were all like founded by
Hmm.
Microsoft themselves. Like open their
Yeah,
own studio, make it,
yeah.
instead of just buying it.
With Sony, it's a lot more organic. With Microsoft, it's almost like they wanna skip ahead, like they want to skip the line, right? Like they want to go straight there, like oh, like I don't want to deal with this line. I'm just gonna buy the whole store, right? Like if they're that's the kind of shit that they can do. But I
Yeah.
I will say this. I understand your point. I feel like each company is doing the best decisions for the position that they're in, you know, because like there's no Microsoft with the amount of money that they have available to do this and with how behind they were, I feel like they had to make these bolder moves and spend the money to like bring them to parity, you know.
Yeah.
I think that makes
I
sense.
think plus not to
um
mention with Amazon having like closed studios and stuff like that, we know it's not easy just to let's found a studio like the coalition or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Now, with talking about Xbox, talking about PlayStation, and earlier we talked about Hideo Kojima, let's move on to our next story here. I'm bringing this from VGC, as reported by author name Tom Ivan. Xbox has reportedly moved closer to signing a new Hideo Kojima game. Negotiations between Microsoft and the Metal Gear Solid creator said to be at an advanced stage. Microsoft has reportedly moved closer to agreeing a deal to publish a new game from Hideo Kojima. It was claimed in April that Microsoft was in talks to sign the next game from the Japanese designer best known for the Metal Gear Solid series. And on Thursday, VentureBeat reported that Microsoft and Kojima had signed a letter of intent stating that they plan to work together on a new Xbox game. It marks a significant development in negotiations, although the deal is still to be finalized, according to the site. The deal is so close that Microsoft has begun preparing for what Kojima will need to make his new game, the report claims. Earlier this month, Xbox Game Studios appointed Portal and Left 4 Dead designer Kim Swift as senior director of cloud gaming, reportedly with a view to helping bring Kojima's game to fruition. I didn't know about that part of it. Kojima has previously expressed a desire to explore a new format of game enabled by cloud platforms. Um, they confirmed in October 2020 that he was staffing up for a new game project, and Death Stranding Director's Cut, a PS5 version of the studio's debut game Death Stranding, was announced in June. So, how do you feel about this, Louis? Do you think it's real? Do you think it's all just bullshit, or is it actually going to happen?
I'm a little shocked and surprised to tell you the truth because like
Mm-hmm.
ever since like Kojima games have had a home on PlayStation, like even as far back as the PS1 with Metal Gear Solid 1 being a PlayStation exclusive. So I just kind of feels like it feels a little weird. It feels wrong. Not to mention, like we know, that PlayStation and Kojima have such a good relationship. I don't know why he would go out of his way to like go work for the competition. It's not like Kojima isn't gonna it's not like Kojima is going to be strapped for cash when making his next game. It feels like he can literally ask Sony to forward him or like advance him some money, and then that's going to happen. I don't. It doesn't seem like getting money from Microsoft is going to make things any better because he's literally already getting money, plenty money from Sony anyways. So it's like my question to you is like, what can he not do on PS5 that he will be able to do on Xbox? I don't. It just doesn't make any fucking sense to me. I
All
don't know.
right, I'm gonna debate you on this one because I feel like we're making a lot of assumptions here. I feel like your assumptions are not necessarily like unusual, but we don't know what his relationship is like with Sony. We know what it was like in 2016 when he left Konami and Sony scooped him up and financed the development of Death Stranding and made that something to be shown at like multiple E3 conferences and everything, and they supported all of that.
Gave him the
Now,
Decima engine. That's a first party
yes,
thing.
yes.
Yeah.
So far, like yes, the relationship seems like it was great. However, Death Stranding comes out in 2019, to mixed critical reception, to not great sales, and I wonder how would Sony, especially with the new leadership that is less Japanese than it was before, would deal with financing Kojima's next game, because Sony is not the kind of company that just throws money around, doesn't give a fuck. They are, as far as I understand, they are the kind of publishers that want quality, that want sales, they want results. They are very like, they have really high standards for their studios.
Yes.
And that's why it's like it's difficult from people that work at like Sony's first party studios to get stuff like approved. If you're in a not if you're a Naughty Dog, like they have built themselves enough credit by this point where they have more freedom. But we saw what happened with Sony Band and Days Gone and the struggles that they went through trying to greenlight a sequel to Days Gone and stuff. So if Sony did not greenlight a sequel to Days Gone, do you think they would have for Death Stranding? Or rather, do you think they would have been as eager to throw money in Kojima's face again for the next game? I am not so certain about that. Um, Now, I don't necessarily look at this as like a betrayal. I look at this as it does take me off guard, catch me off guard, because with the director's cut announcement that we saw recently, I was seeing it more likely that Sony would even acquire Kojima at this point. However, I'm beginning to understand this as I think Kojima is going to become, or Kojima Studios is going to become more of a Platinum Games kind of studio. If you remember,
They're
Lewis, a
second
few
party
years
to
ago,
everyone.
yes, there was a time frame where Platinum Games had simultaneously in development an Xbox exclusive, a Nintendo exclusive, and a Sony exclusive. Now I don't remember exactly what the games
It
were. I
was
think it was
drag Scalebound, a Bayonetta
yes,
game or whatever, or Wonderful 101 kind of. And then also for PlayStation, I don't know what they would have had exclusive at the time, but
maybe like Near or something
oh
like
yeah,
like
yeah,
like
that's
they.
right. Yeah,
So there was a time frame where like that studio was just kind of like whoever pays us will make something for you kind of thing.
yeah.
So I could see if this proves to be true, I could see Kojima finding himself in that situation where his studio becomes more of the second party to everybody, like you said, where, if Nintendo walks up the next day and they're like, hey, we want to throw money at you to make this kind of game on Switch, and maybe he'd be like, sure, let's do it. So
I would never see the day. Like, okay, I would never see the day where that would happen because I would see like Kojima is a bit of an auteur and he needs hardware. He needs hardware to push his limits,
mm,
and I don't think he's gonna limit himself technology-wise for his vision. But that being said, I would sooner see him working with Nintendo than I would Microsoft because I don't know. I'm not gonna say like the Japanese are insular, but it almost kind of feels like you want to do it for the, do it for the team. You know what I mean?
Yeah, here's a few other things I want to point out. However much money Sony offered him, Microsoft can double and triple. Um,
Yeah,
Another thing too is that it's not Kojima that had a historical relationship with Sony necessarily. It was Konami, right? Because Kojima, he was not making those kinds of decisions at Konami. I would assume, like
yeah,
he was part of a bigger publisher. The other thing too is that Kojima has, and you might have noticed this, Louis. I get this impression. He loves America. Like this dude, like he's in love with the United States. Like he could make a game, like he could make his game set anywhere, and his game is all about exploring and healing America, right? Death Stranding is what I'm talking about, right?
hmm.
He has this interesting fascinations. He likes to like incorporate like American language into his games. He
American
likes to like
cinema.
show,
Yeah,
yeah, he loves American cinema. He likes to show up in American shows. Like he likes America. So I don't feel like he would be someone that would get like, oh, like I don't want to work with Microsoft because they're too American. I prefer to work with a Japanese company. I don't know. So there's that as well. Anyway, we talked enough about this, but my theory is that we're gonna see, Kojima get pimped out to to all sorts of different companies moving forward.
okay, yeah, that's yeah, I would have gone harder with the language, but yes.
All right. So this one I only added it in here because I thought it would piss you off, and I was just like, I'm in the mood to piss Lewis off. I feel like this would be a good conversation piece. So this comes from a website called Axios, which this is the original source of the story. I didn't know it before. It's written by Sarah Fisher. Exclusive. New platform launches to bring TV ads to console games. After months of testing, marketers are finally going to be able to start running video ads within console and PC games. Why it matters. In game advertising, a linchpin of mobile gaming, could be very lucrative for console and PC developers. But studios have been hesitant to adopt them, fearing that clunky ad experience would mess with user engagement. A first of its kind in game advertising platform called Player One launches this week, allowing big name marketers that are used to running splashy TV ads the ability to target younger demographics with similar types of spots that will run in video games. The platform, which is owned and operated by Simul Media, a TV ad tech company, will let users determine whether they want to watch a 15 or 30-second video ad in exchange for being able to unlock exclusive gaming perks. Simul Media has struck deals with some of the world's biggest gaming studios, including Electronic Arts and Tencent's High Res Studios. Its EVP Gaming and OTT Dave Madden told Axios. So I'm gonna leave it there. Um, so first, I just want to put it out there. I am an EA employee, so I don't think the EA side of this. I didn't even see that in the story before we brought it up here. I don't think either of us, Louis, should comment on that part of it, especially because I don't know if this is true. I don't want to risk commenting on something that could not be true and then getting in trouble. But to the story more in concept, like the idea of having live ads in video games. What do you think of it?
I hate this. I am. You're right. This would piss me off. It already pissed me off whenever NBA 2K20 did it when they put ads like unskippable ads in their loading screens. Where it's like even when the game is done loading, the ad isn't finished. So you better sit your ass down and watch this ad so that way we can make our money. This is so grimy and like I would never. Like, I would not stand for it. And the idea of paying like $60 to $70 for a game and you're still getting served up ads, it's like, what are we doing here? What's the point? Like, I literally paid like 99 cents on my phone to not have ads on Among Us. You know what I mean? Like, this is like, that's literally the whole point of spending money on your games is to not be bothered with it. So, if they're going to do this, you have to be everything has to be free to play. That's the only way this is going to work. And even then, I don't really appreciate that because Fortnite is already expensive as it is, even though it's a free to play game. So running ads on Fortnite, it's already like I don't know, because Fortnite's a social hub. They do podcasts, they do concerts on there. They don't run ads.
we have ads everywhere and they're annoying. And, with me, the thing that annoys me the most is that they tend to be effective. Like, I've bought a shit ton of stuff because I saw it in an ad before. So, or even like, even if I don't buy it right away, later on, I need this kind of thing. And then like, oh, what brand do I get? And then it just like that name that you've seen the ad for, gets in your brain and stuff. So, and I've appreciated that we've had video games as almost like a safe space from
Yes.
ads, right? For the most part. And I feel like recently we've started seeing product placement in games like in Death Stranding with the Monster energy drink, but I almost wish that we would stick with that. Like, can we just like have that instead? Like, I'm okay
And
with
movies
things
too.
being placed. Yeah,
Movies
like
too. They
I'm
do
o-
product placements.
I'm okay with product placement, assuming it fits within the context, the world, the universe of the game. Obviously, it would be ridiculous to find a can of Coke in Skyrim or something, but I wouldn't mind it in Fallout, right? Like, so there's ways to do this in games that make sense for it, and I feel like, I mean, Fortnite already has so much product placement. I don't feel like we need to be taken away from the interactive experience of playing a video game to have to watch an ad. It sounds based on this article that it's going to be more of a thing where it's like, oh, it's an option, like maybe like in a Fortnite like game. Hey, if you go into this menu and you watch some ads, you get some V Bucks change. But I don't like that either because I feel like that's the first step in a
Slippery
path
slope.
that in a slippery slope, right? That I feel like we're gonna have a hard time coming back from. Actually, it's the kind of path that there's no way coming back from. I'm hoping that the majority of the studios that I like that do not even consider adopting this. Only time will tell. And the reality is that games that do implement this, I will probably just try to stay away from so that I can vote with my wallet and not support this kind of thing.
Oh yeah, and also any game that does do it and is successful, everyone will follow. So
Hmm. All right, next one here. This almost could have been an extra news story, but I just wanted to give it a little bit of a highlight here. The Elder Scrolls 6 still in design phase, being built on new Starfield technology, reported by Tom Phillips for Eurogamer. Bethesda boss Todd Howard has given a brief update on the Elder Scrolls 6, which is still many years away. The hugely anticipated Skyrim sequel will benefit from following the upcoming Starfield, Howard said, whose new engine is already being used for the Elder Scrolls 6 prep. Open quote. The new technology creation engine 2 is sort of built for both, Howard told the Telegraph. It's like a new tech base. The vast majority of our development work is on Starfield right now, but everybody works on everything so the projects kind of intertwine. But even with some staff working on the Elder Scrolls series future, Howard was careful to make it clear that this next fantasy RPG chapter was still a long way away from launch. Open quote. It's good to think of the Elder Scrolls 6 as still being in design phase, but we're checking the tech. Is this going to handle the things we want to do in that game? Every game will have some new suits of technology, so Elder Scrolls 6 will have some additions on Integration Engine 2 that game is going to require. So I'll leave it at that. Um, what do you think, Liz?
man, this game is vaporware, man. We've got that logo launched like a long time ago at an E3 or something like that, and they're just talking. I think this game is more of just like in engine, like just you know this kind of like ethereal, kind of like non-existent phase that where it's in. And oh look, they're even is
Yeah.
this is the logo, isn't it? They're playing the logo.
Yes.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Which that footage was likely not even an engine or anything. Probably just paid cinematic studio to make that with the logo. That logo will probably even maybe
Change.
get a
Yeah.
redesign and stuff and change later on. Just like
Um,
the Metro Prime 4 logo when we do see that again.
so yeah,
Um
just the idea that they're just it's basically just engine. By the way, this just want to throw this out there. They've been long overdue for a brand new engine, anyways, and I'm just surprised
mhm.
that they're they took this long. And number two, they better get it right because whatever engine they're going to be sticking with, whatever engine they're creating now, they're going to be sticking with for like decades to come. I'd imagine. I don't think even with Microsoft money, they're going to go out of their way to change an engine or update their engine. So because we've already seen them do it already for 10 years. So yeah.
All right. So we're going to be talking more about this probably on next week when we do a topic of the show on predicting when certain games will be coming out. It will include the Elder Scrolls 6. So I'm going to want to see we're going to see who is closest to predicting the release of that game, and we're only gonna know on like episode 400 of this podcast or something. But I want to try to make a point that whenever those games do come out, that we look back and see who got it right, which we probably won't.
Okay.
Um, and then last but not least, this is old news. This came out during E3 week, but we had so many other things that we were talking about that we did not cover it at all. And I wanted to do it because we're doing it every month. The NPD numbers came out for May. I just, games continue doing super well. I just kind of want to go through the top 20 list of best selling games in May in the United States. That had number one, Resident Evil Village, new addition to the list. Number two, Mass Effect Legendary Edition, new addition to the list. And then the only other new addition was Biomutant at number 16. Now, let me go through the rest of the list as well. We got MLB The Show 21, number three, then Call of Duty Cold War, then the new Pokemon Snap, then Mortal Kombat 11, then Mario Kart 8, then Returnal, then Animal Crossing New Horizons, and then Minecraft. That ends the top 10. And then closing out the top 20, we got Modern Warfare, Spider Man Miles Morales, Super Mario 3D World, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, It Takes Two, Biomutant, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Rise, Breath of the Wild, Pokemon Sword and Shield, and Days Gone.
I wonder why they
List.
put Days Gone at number 21. But okay.
Yeah, that's. Oh, you know what? They're trying to point out the jump
Oh, from
because it went from
247 last week to. Okay. Interesting. I wonder why it
what.
spiked.
Yeah, there must have been maybe some kind of update
Or
or
sale.
something. Sale, yeah, exactly. Could have been the deal of the week
Hmm.
on the PSN or something like that. Yeah, cool. So Resident Evil Village number one. That game I think definitely fed on the hype and the meme of Lady D. I feel like a lot of people probably bought the game because of that. Then Mass Effect Legendary Edition, cool. Expected to see there. MLB The Show 21 still selling a shit ton, despite the fact that it's free on Game Pass on the Xbox side. Returnal doing pretty well on the list there, number 8. Animal Crossing New Horizons had a bump from like 15 to 9. Some new events happening and etc. Um, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I keep being surprised at like how long this game has stayed relevant within the sales charts because it's now like two Call of Duties ago.
Yeah,
So,
it's 2019
uh,
Call of Duty, and that's interesting.
yeah, yeah, it is interesting. Because like I would understand like Cold War being number 4. It's like okay, that makes sense, but I would have expected this one to have fallen further down at this point. And then shout out to like all the Nintendo games in there. Shout out to It Takes Two. It was number 9 the previous month, number 15 this month. That game is selling really and it's really good for co-op games and Haze Light Studios in general. So lots of good stuff here.
Okay, cool.
All right, let's hit up our extra news. I got a mouthful here, so I'm going to be reading those for a while. Number one, Sony has filed a new trademark for something dubbed PSX, documented as arranging, organizing, and conducting exhibitions and conferences in the fields of entertainment and video games. So the PSX conference is likely coming back. Number two, Playground Games has confirmed plans to stop adding new cars and features to Forza Horizon 4 ahead of the release of the game's successor. Number three, free to play role playing game Near Reincarnation launches in North America and Europe on July 28 for iOS and Android devices. Number four, CD Projekt has said it believes Cyberpunk 2077's performance has now reached a satisfying level following 6 months of patches designed to improve the game from a much criticized launch state. Number five, Konami and Bloober Team have signed a strategic cooperation agreement which will include jointly developing selected contents and exchanging know-how. Bloober Team to developers of the medium. Number six, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart patch adds 120 Hz display mode via a new patch. Number seven, Australian classification has rated an unannounced Castlevania Advanced Collection. Number eight, Square Enix has revealed that it will soon be removing a couple of classic Final Fantasy games from Steam ahead of its recently announced remaster.
Those
Number nine,
bastards.
yeah, number nine. According to indie developer Eon Garner on Twitter, Sony reportedly wants 25,000 and 30% of earnings to feature your PlayStation indie game. Number 10. Team Fortress 2 just hit over 150,000 active players on Steam, the highest count since the game launched in 2007. Number 11, further fuel has been added to the Dead Space comeback rumors after the official YouTube channel for the sci-fi horror franchise sprung mysteriously to life. And number 12, Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut is coming to PS4 and PS5 on August 20th, featuring a new chapter in Jin's story and adaptive trigger and haptic feedback support on PS5.
I wonder if you get that for
Lewis, take it
free.
away.
I hope you get that for free on if you already have a PS4 or the PS4 copy of the
Uh,
game.
I actually believe there's a thing where I'll need to look into it, but it has one of those like weird like pricing structures where you got to look at like a table, like a spreadsheet. That's like if you have this version of the game, you got to pay like 99 to upgrade, but you have like if you have like this version, then it's 19.99. If you have this thing, then it's
Oh my
free or
god.
whatever. Yeah.
All right. Well, so PSX finally. PSX has long been overdue. PSX should have never left, to tell you the truth. Um, but to tell you the truth, I actually hated the PSX that I did go to. I feel like I missed out. I missed out.
You know, let me call you out there for a second. PSX sucks. Also, it should have never gone away. Why haven't they been doing them all this time?
Well, no. Okay, let me put it to you this way. Uh, the PSX that I went to, I didn't make it into the conference. You know that part where they'd give the little E3 press conference. The line was so long that I didn't actually get in. So I watched it on my phone in line, waiting to get inside the convention, waiting to get
Oh,
inside the convention center. Like
oh
that's
no.
like the whole purpose
Okay.
of me going there. I also didn't play a single goddamn game because all the lines are too atrociously long. And the one game that I did
Yeah.
play, I snuck in. So I have to out myself on that one. So yeah, but no, as a general thing, PSX itself should totally exist. I just know better than to go to it. So um, yeah, watching PSX at home is better than the actual. It's like the E3 of it all.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense.
As far oh
I totally get your like the sneaking in thing because like dude, like my E3 experiences involve so much sneaking into stuff. It's crazy. It's like it's not even like I'm doing anything too crazy, but like you start like, you know, you're standing in line and like there's some lines that are kind of complicated to get in and you just kind of talk to the people that are running the lines. And a lot of times they can help you out. They like I've had people be like, dude, we're gonna open right now, like one end kind of thing.
yes,
And that stuff definitely helps out. You know.
yes. What's it called? I just want to say that CD Projekt Red, man, come on, man. That's it's a satisfying level of performance. No, fuck you. It is not. Don't even try it. You're just making yourself look bad. Let's see. Okay, that's pretty grimy. Square Enix. Why are they going to do that? Like, just the whole purpose of being on Steam is so that it's like it's evergreen. You just basically you can play it on PC anytime.
Yep.
And you can go back as there's no such thing as console generations on PC. They're just doing it just because they want to make a buck. So, eh. But yeah. Also, okay, is Sony being like evil here on this one on number 9? It's like they want $25,000 and 30% of your earnings as long as we spotlight you. That just seems like that seems very
Yes.
anti indie.
That's my answer because you know, and that's the thing. Like, I saw the story come up. I don't know if it's like something specific about this guy's experience, or it seems like there's other indie developers that have corroborated that you know agreed to it, said that they experienced the same thing. I've always heard that from recent generations, like so from like kind of like mid PS4 to now at least, that it's not great to work with Sony as an indie developer. That they're the ones that help you the least. So to me, this kind of like falls in line with that story I've heard before. And you know, as an indie developer, a lot of times these people developing these games, like they don't have any money. Like
Yeah.
they don't have $25,000 for their own stuff. They don't have it to give it to Sony. So they barely have to enough to like put on their own games as well while they're like working two jobs or something and trying to make this game. So it definitely doesn't bode well for Sony to be portrayed in this capacity
Yeah.
by indie devs. Yeah.
Yeah, and not to mention, well, at least thank God for like Nintendo and their Nindies presentations and Xbox with their
Hmm.
ID at Xbox. And, like at least they got like they got some safe haven from there, and all the better for them because if anything, those platforms are benefiting from like the indie love that Sony doesn't seem to be having anymore that I think about it. I can't think of like a big name featured indie game on PlayStation platforms. You know what I mean? Like early PS4 days,
Yeah.
indies were like supporting and holding up and
Mhm.
like, keeping everyone satiated until the PS4 games, first party games came out. So it just seems like it almost kind of feels like a slap in the face to the people that like made you partly or made you. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, especially during the PS3 era, dude. Like the PS3, there was like a time frame there too where like there is so like the indies were kind of keeping that console together during some of those years. And yeah, like PS4 early on is all right, Lewis. We're gonna wrap this up. I'm kicking check this out to next week. I had something we'll look at it next week. Do you think you can bring us home in the next 10-ish minutes?
I got this.
What are you buying?
All right, so first things up, Doom Eternal's next gen upgrade is raising hell for PS5 owners. All right, so check this out. There was an update 6 that went live for the next gen people for the PS5 and the series. And of course, they even talked about it on the Microsoft showcase about how we're gonna give you guys a 120 frames per second mode and all that stuff. And they showed it here that these new options are good for like those 4K TVs. They said that okay, these updates are live. You can there's a ray tracing mode where you can play it at 1800p and 60 frames per second. A performance mode which is at 1800p and 120 frames per second, and a balance mode which offers full 4K at 60 frames per second, with HDR10 is being supported on all the graphics modes. So what ends up happening is for the PS5 people, the update 6 didn't go so well because it doesn't allow for PS4 players to transfer their save data to the PS5 version, which means that if you're looking to upgrade, you're gonna have to like reset your progress to 0. What the fuck? Like it almost kind of feels like conspiracy theory time. It almost kind of feels like the Microsoft wanted to make sure it goes smoothly on their platforms because they're first party, and then fuck you, Sony. That kind of thing. I don't know. It just seems very backwards, or I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it's just maybe like a bug that they didn't see coming, or something more methodical?
I don't want to get I don't want to get into conspiracy theory territory about it because I do think they intend on supporting both platforms. Like from a developer, like you can say whatever you want from like an up top perspective, but like from the developer perspective, they're over there. This game exists in both consoles. They're building these patches for both consoles. I can't see the dev being like, fuck this PlayStation, so I don't think, and when I say dev level, I'm not even saying like just like the grunt, like me. I'm saying like, like manager level too, like manager in the dev level and stuff. I don't think they would do that. However, there could be, I could see, and I almost don't want to say it because it's probably not the case, but I could see a situation where there's a general instruction that comes from the top, which is that if you have a PS5 only bug or a PS4 only bug, right? That is lower priority than an Xbox bug, right? Or something like that. Like I could see it. I could see it's not don't do it. It's like that is lower priority because everything in development is with priorities, right? Like
Yes.
everything is like, oh, like this is high priority, this is low priority, this is medium, etc. And there could be something like that. I don't know.
Interesting. All right, we'll write that. We'll take that home. We'll take that to the bank and cash the check on that one. All right. So as far as new releases go, we only got looks like 4 things. So that's very good for me and good for this show. The big release is a Plague Tale: Innocence. It's coming out on PS5, Series X, and the Switch on July 6th. Follow the grim tale of a young I'll say Amisha, and her little brother Hugo in a heart trending journey through the darkest hours of history, hunted by Inquisition soldiers and surrounded by unstoppable swarms of rats. Amisha and Hugo will come to know and trust each other as they struggle to survive against overwhelming odds. They will fight to find purpose in this brutal, unforgiving world. Okay. Yeah, wasn't this like the one E3 where there's like a bunch of rats, like all like
Yes.
yeah, I remember that one shot. Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
there's a sequel. We saw a sequel to this game on the Xbox showcase, and I heard really good things about this original game. So it's coming out to some new platform. Wanted to give it a shout.
Okay. All right. Next up is Ender Lily's Quietest of the Nights. Wait, didn't we cover this already? I remember talking about this
We
on last week's
did.
show. I had the
This
trailer.
game was, I believe, it was free on the Epic Store or something. Like we definitely looked at this before, but it's either coming to new platforms now or something, or I could have messed up. It was in July for the list that I looked at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, actually, it says right here, look, release date June 22nd on Switch, and then June 29th was last week. So it came out last week on for new releases, but for Xbox. This week, it's new
Mm,
releases on July 6th for PS5 and PS4. So there you go.
there
That's
we
what it
go.
was. Okay. So that's a really weird staggered release because they did it. They were literally released 3 weeks in a row. Switch happened first, Xbox happened next, and now it's PlayStation's turn. I guess that's cool because we covered it 3 weeks in a row. Supposedly, maybe we might have covered
I
it.
I bet that is the reason. I like because I can't really foresee like a development reason for like it being like a week apart. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I feel like that it was a strategy. It was a marketing strategy. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And Yeast 9 Monstrum Nox comes out on Switch and PC on July 6th. And finally, Salmon Max. This time it's virtual. It's going to come out on the Quest on July 8th. So that's it for new releases.
Yeah. Not a lot this week.
I guess
Because you're reading them.
yeah, I know, right? I know it's usually that's usually the case. But I would say, as far as pick of the week goes, I would still say Ender Lilies, and I believe, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken, like I saw this, and this is all like inside baseball because I'm part of like the Level One Gaming Discord. But I believe that somebody at Level One Gaming is going to be reviewing Ender Lilies for Level One Gaming's website. So keep it
Cool.
locked there.
It definitely looks really good. It looks like top tier indie material there.
Okay, all right, let's go ahead and move on.
Got a selection of good things on sale, stranger.
Oh my God, Dan, I actually have a pretty halfway decent Bro Gamers guide. It's actually to the point, and it's all free games. Free games galore. You get a free game, and you get a free game.
Let's do this.
All
Let's
right.
do this.
So for the Epic Game Store, we have the Spectrum Retreat is the free game of the week. Wait a minute, I don't remember seeing this. Did we cover this last week about like what game allegedly was going to be the free game of the week? Because
I
whatever.
think we did, but let's look into it.
All right. Well, so it's free for the week from starting from today to July 8th, and then starting on July 8th is Bridge Constructor: The Walking Dead, which I remember seeing a Bridge Constructor game before. So that's cool. They got a little Walking Dead slap. They slapped a coat of paint of Walking Dead on it, and then Iron Cast will also be allegedly free next week. All right, this week the Spectrum Retreat. Check in to the Spectrum Retreat for a stay you won't forget. Explore the pristine and uncanny hotel, the Penrose, while solving its ingenious color-coded puzzles and discovering the reasons behind their seemingly never-ending stay. Okay, so it looks like Portal meets 1408. So
There we go. Yep.
yeah, so that looks cool, I guess. Yeah, it's I don't
First person like exploration, investigation, puzzle
yeah,
game.
it looks
Yeah.
interesting. All right, that's the free game. And for PlayStation Plus, we have the free months. The free
Oh.
games of July have been announced. A Plague Tale: Innocence. Oh, that's why it's coming out this week for free. I mean, because
Hmm.
it's yeah. Look at that. Oh yeah yeah. It's so for PS5 owners such as myself, you get that brand new spanking ass game. Um, there's that one for, and then for the PS4 owners, this is a little black. Okay, Call of Duty
A
Black
little
Ops
sus.
3. I don't know. Sorry, Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Excuse me. Um, it's a little sus because it's a multiplayer only Call of Duty. There's no campaign. Those bastards. Um, so yeah, I'm not really about that. I only play Call of Duty for the campaign. And also, WWE 2K Battlegrounds is also kind of sus because that game reviewed poorly. It's janky. It's whatever. It's not as janky as the actual like NBA 2K21 or whatever that they had a pool or whatever. So yeah, it's It's a so-so. Overall, it's a so-so. I would say maybe I guess a Plague Tale, maybe. I don't
Yeah. No, Plague Tale is the best game out of these three,
know.
generally. Yeah. A Plague Tale was a Game Award nominated game in the year it came out. It's a top tier. Like I mean it's like double A, but it's like top tier of the double A. So shout
Yes.
out.
All right. So as far as the Xbox games, it doesn't get any better. So we got Planet Alpha from July 1st to the 31st, and then halfway into July, July 16th through August 15th, there is, what is it, Rock of Ages 3, Make and Break. And then I would say the only game that's even worth is the original Xbox game called Conquer Live and Reloaded, which is a remake of Conquer's Bad Fur Day that I talked about. But it's a shitty remake of Conquer's Bad Fur Day. I think the N64 version's better. But yeah, um, I would say that's the only game of worth mentioning. And then also there's from July 16th through the July 31st, it's Midway Arcade Origins, which is a bunch of old like 8-bit like old ass games that aren't they don't seem very fun or particularly relevant today. So good for game preservation, but not necessarily good for the fun times. So yeah, I don't really have much to say beyond that. Do you have anything to say about Xbox?
I think that Planet Alpha game looks cool, but it still pisses me off that they don't just have all the games available from July 1 to 31st.
Well, at least that one is.
Yeah.
Finally, we don't cover Amazon Prime Gaming very often because, particularly, Prime Gaming doesn't tend to have a lot of good free games of the month. But I did keep an eye out this month and I found one of note. Dan, do you know what that is?
The Secret of Monkey Island
Oh yeah, most
Special
definitely,
Edition.
most definitely. Batman: The Enemy Within is gonna be is one of the free games on Amazon Prime. So if you're an Amazon Prime member, you get Prime Gaming for free. So all you gotta do is just go to Twitch or like, go to Twitch.tv and then sign in. And then once you're signed in, you can go in there and redeem a free game. Batman: The Enemy Within, I believe, is the second season. If I want to say the second season of the Batman Telltale games. So yeah, you get it from July 1st from now until August 2nd. They're redeemable. You just go in there and claim them. And I went ahead and claimed all of these games. I don't really know any of these games in general. I just claimed it just because it's free. But yeah, Batman.
Or yeah, before you close this, can you go all the way up to the top? So they have a lot of like other shit here. Like, is this like
So
all for live service games? Like,
yes. So basically, what they give you in-game loot every month. They can say, you can claim some $400,000 in GTA 5 or whatever, or this skin in Fall Guys, and it's like this stuff in Apex Legends and stuff like that. It's just stuff. I don't really claim any of.
yeah,
I have never once claimed an in-game item or in-game loot for anything, even if it's a game I play, because usually I believe when it comes to these particular situations, you have to play it within the Twitch game launcher, because Twitch has its own Steam,
mm,
its own game launcher. So, also, separate side note, in case you didn't know this, little advertising for Twitch gaming. You don't have to be a Twitch Prime or an Amazon Prime subscriber to keep your games. So, like, once you claim it, if you stop buying Amazon Prime, you still have it in your launcher and you can still play it without, like, the PS Plus where
on that note,
they take it away from you.
I found out about an interesting feature of Xbox Game Pass recently that I didn't know about. If you have a game through Xbox Game Pass and you install it to your console and that game gets later removed from Xbox Game Pass, you can still play it as long as it's installed to your console. But if you uninstall it, then you can't download it again because it's no longer available. Yes. So right now,
Whoa.
I can't remember which game it is, but I have a game installed that just left Game Pass or is about to leave Game Pass or something. I'm planning to have it like Outer Wilds. Yes, we covered that Outer Wilds was leaving Game Pass. I'm gonna keep it installed until I play it.
So let me ask you this: so like if GTA 5 leaves Game Pass, and as long as GTA 5 is installed, you can continue to play it. That seems crazy.
I wonder if there's like any kind of there might be some limitations to it, but I read about it on the internet, so it couldn't be wrong.
We'll test it out. We'll let you know.
Yeah.
Let me know about Outer Wilds. But yeah, that is
Hmm.
definitely it. Should I do the thing?
Yes, do the thing. It is time to end. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Ready Press Play. Remember, you can podcast at readyplaynetwork.com or simply at Ready Press Play on Twitter or TikTok. I'm on Twitter at the Dan Lima and Lewis.
At Chakalaka88.
That's right. Don't forget to subscribe, give us a review, tell your friends about the show, and all that good stuff. See you next time. Bye bye.
Peace.